You are with me, Raju, editor-in-chief at transformationchampions.com. I am doing a series of interviews with corporate and wellness leaders. Today, I am with Mr. Rajesh. He is an engineer turned psychologist. He is a psychotherapist and psychological counselor. He is here with us to share his thoughts on the importance of mental health. Welcome, Mr. Rajesh. Good morning. Good to have you with us today. How are you doing?
Doing fine, Mr. Raju. Thank you so much. Good morning, and I really appreciate your focus on millets. And you are a great millet evangelist. You've done a lot to popularize millets amongst the masses, and it's really nice to be on your channel here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rajesh. Being an expert in this field of mental health, would like to understand your thoughts about mental health, Rajesh.
Well, Mr. Raju, it's like this. See, before we start on mental health, let me ask you a basic question.
Okay.
I'm sure, like all of us, you also have a lot of focus on your health, right?
Yes.
So, what do you do to maintain your health?
Well, I do exercise, yoga, breathing practice. I take a sun bath and maintain a healthy diet. Like I eat, consume smart foods, nutritious foods like millets, nuts, seeds, green veggies, fruits, and cut down on refined food products. That's how I maintain healthy health, Rajesh.
Okay, Raju, I should give you a double thumbs up for it. It's fantastic looking at the broad spectrum of things you do to take care of your health. See, my own association with millet stands for about 10 years, and as a family, we've all been into that. And we have really felt a lot of change after we shifted to millets. And so it's really good that we are discussing about millet-based health today. Now, one thing that I've noticed is everything that you mentioned about what you do to maintain your health is all related to your body. It's about your physical health. So, I mean, that's how everybody reacts. When I don't ask people, how are you and what do you do to maintain your health, they all say more or less similar things. It just kind of tells us that a lot of focus for us is on the body and not on the mind. In fact, mental health is a whole big world out there waiting to be explored and experienced. And mental health professionals like me are doing our bit to bring in the awareness amongst people that as important as physical health is mental health.
Okay. Very interesting. Looks like it will be very interesting, Rajesh. So, what is mental health?
Okay, fine. So, see, mental health is basically when we say health in particular, the simplest definition of health, whether it's physical health or mental health is absence of disease
Mhm.
or absence of illness. See, if I'm, let's say, in terms of physical health, if I don't have any disorder or illness or disease, it means I'm healthy.
Okay.
The same thing happens in the mental side also. The only difference is the body is very visible for us. We can touch and feel the body. It's very easy for us to kind of understand if something is going wrong with our body. But on the mental side, it's not so easy because it's a bit more intangible.
Mm. Yeah,
So
exactly.
and it's that much more difficult for us to understand our own mental health problems. Others may be able to see it in us before we ourselves realize. So behavior is a key indicator of our mental health. How we behave in the sense, like for example, all of us play different roles in our lives. Like we have a role in the family, we have a role for ourselves, we have social life, we go and work in organizations, so we have work life. So if we are able to successfully manage and handle all these different roles that we play on a daily basis without any problem, it's a good indicator that our mental health is also good. Now, on the other side, for example, I'll give a small example. Let's say we are working in an office, and a colleague of us who is otherwise very normal and friendly towards people suddenly started getting withdrawal, doesn't talk much to people, or sometimes becomes much more irritable than others than before, especially in meetings and picks up fights and arguments much more than earlier.
Hmm.
These are behavioral changes that we can easily notice. So that is possibly a good indication of the state of mind or the mental health of the person. So there could be something that is disturbing that person because of which he or she is exhibiting certain behavioral changes compared to what that person was used to before. So behavior is a key indicator of our mental health. Although when we say mind is somewhere inside, we can't put a finger and say this is where it is. But external behavior is what we have to monitor. So when we say good mental health, it means that we are able to interact well with everybody else in the family, in the office, out there in the society, with our neighbors, relatives, and we are able to play a constructive, positive role in the society where we ourselves are benefited as well as everybody else. So that's a key indicator of good mental health.
What you're saying is we are taking care of the tangible, our physical health, not the intangible mental health, right? It's very interesting, Rajesh. So I know psychiatrists as a professional, but what are the other mental health professionals who are available in the market?
Fantastic question. In fact, this is what people need to understand. Before going to that, let me just highlight one thing.
Okay.
This entire thread, we should understand the parallels between physical health and mental health. Right? So, when we say physical health, it's the body. When we say mental health, it's the mind and emotions. So, there is a lot of interrelationship between these two. The body and mind have a very, very strong interrelationship, interdependence, and like a simple thing, like if you're very happy,
Okay.
your breathing will be very normal. You know, there won't be any tension when you speak. You'll be relaxed. There won't be much of tension in any of your muscles if you observe. On the other hand, when you're very, very tensed or angry, let's say in the office you have a very tense meeting, everybody's tempers are rising. If you just look at it from a distance and see how people behave, you can see a lot of tension in their bodies, their muscles are tense, you know. Maybe people even might physically, hold a fist like this, because that's how we kind of store our mental tensions in the body. So, as psychologists, we have observed these behaviors and kind of done the reverse of that to help people come back to normal. So, but just by giving some relaxation techniques, by asking people to relax the muscles in the body, automatically we observe that the mental tension also comes down. So, there is a lot of interrelationship. In fact, the way we breathe when we are tensed or angry is very, very shallow.
Hmm.
But when we are in a very, very pleasant and happy mode, the way we breathe is different. So there is a lot of things to do with the way we tense our muscles, the way we breathe. So this is how body and mind have a lot of interconnection. Now, coming back to your question, see, just like how we have various types of doctors who handle our diseases, on the mental side, you have psychiatrists. Everybody knows. I mean, psychiatrist is a doctor who has done his MBBS, and then after MBBS, they either do an MD in psychiatry or they do a diploma in psychiatry. That's called DPM. So these psychiatrists are doctors, and only they can prescribe medicine. Nobody else can prescribe medicine for anyone, whether it's for physical problem or mental problem. So that is the main uh, thing a doctor does. He or she diagnoses the condition, prescribes medicine. Now, along with the doctors, there are other professionals on the physical health side, like nurses and physiotherapists. Similarly, on the mental side, you have somebody called clinical psychologist and psychotherapist. What a clinical psychologist is these are people who have done their MPhil in clinical psychology. And as the term defines, clinical psychology means there is some clinic attached there. So these are people who work along with psychiatrists in clinics or hospitals. And their main role in mental health is to assess and diagnose and do the testing and find out what the problem is. whether somebody is having depression or somebody is having anxiety, or is it something more serious like a bipolar disorder or a schizophrenia, whatever be it. So the basic testing and a diagnosis is done by the clinical psychologist. And they submit the test report just like how we do a blood test in a laboratory or go for different scans. On the mental health side, there are hundreds of tests that can be done. Sometimes they give you questionnaires, sometimes they will just sit across the table and talk to you and make notes. So there are different ways of doing assessment. So once the report is submitted to the psychiatrist also does a personal assessment of the client, and then the treatment starts. But we have a third category. Like for example, when you go to a physiotherapist, what does he do? Like typically, let's say I go to a physiotherapist. He also teaches me some exercises to move my hands or legs to get me back to normal, right? Similarly, on the mental side, we have psychotherapists. So if a person is down with a bit of anxiety or depression or any such condition, he or she can approach a psychotherapist and have therapy. But the difference between therapy and what a doctor does is a therapist can intervene with various exercises and things like that, whereas a doctor can intervene with medicine. And normally what happens is when we work as a team, the medicines prescribed by the doctor, the analysis, diagnosis done by the clinical psychologist, and the therapy intervention from the psychotherapist side. All these three work as a team and then bring about a fantastic, change in the patient. So that's how the entire mental health professional work. Now, I just want to understand, point out one major difference here. When I say physiotherapist, he also does some exercise, tells you exercise, right? But on the other hand, you go to a gym and you work with a fitness trainer. He also teaches you exercises. So what is the difference? So can you tell me what could be the difference between what a physiotherapist does and a fitness trainer does?
I think both do the same thing.
All right. Yeah. See, in a way, everybody works for the betterment of the client, right? The difference is, I don't go to a physiotherapist if I'm normal. Right. If I have a problem, let's say I met with an accident, I have a fracture somewhere. I go to a doctor first, get the treatment with some painkiller medicines and all that, but then the doctor invariably puts me on to a physiotherapist. And at some point of time, the physiotherapist intervention is very, very important for me to start, exercising that part of the body and trying to bring it back to normal. Very similar thing is what a psychotherapist does to the mind. So this is called psychopathology. Pathology means illness, study of illness. So just like how a physiotherapist intervenes when you are not well, a psychotherapist intervenes again when there is some issue on the mental side. But on the other hand, you don't go to a gym or a fitness trainer when you're not well, right? You go when do you normally go and hit the gym?
To get ourselves fit, so we don't go to the fitness center when we are having illness or any issues with.
Yeah. But when you are otherwise normal, you really need not go to the gym. You can continue to survive and do whatever you want without hitting the gym. So that is how we all live our normal lives. So even on the mental side, we don't have to do anything special for it.
Okay.
But then, if you want to improve upon certain things, physically, let's say I have no disease, no disorder, but I still want to go improve my fitness. I want to go to the gym, learn some exercises, do some weightlifting, improve my strength, my endurance. So this is where you are motivated to go beyond your normal life and do something extra to improve the quality of your life. Very similar way on the mental side, like a fitness trainer, you have psychological counselors, you have motivational trainers. So you have coaches, the life coach, and so many other coaches have come up these days. So what all these professionals do is very similar to what a fitness trainer at a gym might be doing. You are fine even without going to the gym. You can lead your life, but then there is something in you which says you have to do something more than that. So that is when, for example, let's say you want to improve your decision making skills. You're already a successful professional, you know how to make decisions, but then you want to improve on it. That's when you probably approach a trainer or a psychologist and get a bit of coaching on that. Or let's say you want to improve your, let's say as a student, you want to improve your memory skills. Of course, there are some tablets and medicines going on the market. I don't know how effective they are. But just like how you play games with children to improve their concentration and stuff like that, there are lots of memory games that psychologists can teach. Similarly, if you want to improve your IQ, let's say the child is growing up and you've done an IQ test and you feel that there's a bit of improvement to be done. There are lots of games or tests that psychologists do and help improve on the IQ part. So just like how we kind of train our body in different ways. We go for yoga, we go for tai chi, we go for gym, lots of jogging and exercising and walking. All these kinds of things we can do with the mind. So imagine it like a mind gym. You just like how you lift weights in the gym. In the mental side, you kind of get trained to face tougher and tougher problems. Right? So as psychologists, we are there for you when you're not well. We are there for you when life is absolutely fine and you want to stretch yourself and achieve something more. So exactly what happens on the physical side, there are professionals available on the mental side. So that's where I say there's a lot of parallel between the body and mind. And also in our normal lives, we all feel that way. Like when you are physically very healthy, even mentally you're quite fine. You're happy, you're able to go around, do your work without much of a problem. If there is a physical illness, your state of mind also is a bit affected. The other way is also true. If you're physically fine, there is a problem at office, there is a problem at home, somebody is not well, then your state of mind will in turn affect your body. So that's how we find like BP of people shooting up and they're tense.
Yes.
Physically they are okay, but because of the situation, the body reacts to it. Right? So similarly, when we have anxiety, it immediately shows on the body. So when you have chronic anxiety for years together, definitely it lead to various physical problems. So this connection between mind and body is something we have to be all very, very closely aware of. And just like how there are professionals to help you handle your body, there are professionals available to help you on the mental side.
A lot of insight on the professionals available for mental health, right? So, but I think you would have covered a bit. But if you want to add more on how to decide whom to approach, if you have a mental health issues.
Yeah. See, we could do like this. See, even in the physical health side, you generally go to a doctor only after you realize there is some problem. Right? So, since I told you before, like with body, we ourselves can kind of sense that something is wrong. But as far as mental issues are concerned, people around us, our families, close friends, their feedback should, I mean, we have to give some weightage to that. Similarly, we have to keep observing the behavior of our family members, our dear ones, friends, colleagues in the office. And that gives vital clues that something is going on. So that is when the first intervention is required. So just like in physical health, the earlier you diagnose, the earlier you intervene, the better it is. So if you are in the early stages of a problem, you can feel free and approach a psychological counselor or a psychotherapist, and they will actually spend a lot of time talking to you, understanding what issues you're going through. And just the very fact that there is somebody sitting across the table to listen to you and you pour out your feelings and emotions, that itself actually reduces a lot of stress. And time again, we see patients come to us or clients who come to us. When they go back, they go back with a lot less of stress just because they have kind of let it off. Okay, so that this is at a very simple at the beginning level. But there could be various serious complications with people. Like if somebody has schizophrenia or a bipolar disorder, their behavior is entirely different. It cannot be managed by people at home. Even a counselor cannot sit across the table and talk to them because they are not in the normal frame of mind. Like they will start telling you stories and it will be as if like they are somebody else. They have no sense of their own, who they are, where they are, at what time of the day they are, nothing. They are in their own imaginary world. So those are much more serious conditions where they have to be taken to a psychiatrist. And after proper diagnosis, the psychiatrist will arrive at think of what the problem is. And then medicines have to be given. Sometimes it's for a short duration, but sometimes it's lifelong. So once the medicines start working, we automatically see a lot of changes in the behavior. So this is again a good point to show the mind-body connection. The medicine works on the body, it goes into the digestive system, gets into the blood, goes to the brain, but ultimately a lot of things happen in the brain. So the brain is where the mind is, being controlled. So these chemicals work on various parts of the brain, and then we see a lot of changes in the behavior. But along with the medicines, if counseling or therapy, psychotherapy is also given, then studies have proven that there's a lot more improvement seen in the patient. So medicines alone are not enough. Similarly, therapy or counseling alone may not be enough in serious cases. So the rule of the thumb is if the problem is at a very initial stage, that people feel free to approach a counselor or a psychotherapist. And if the problem is at a much more advanced stage, then a psychiatrist has to be approached. And I wanted to also tell you point out one important thing. When we talk about physical health, none of us has any inhibition in saying that I went to such a big hospital, got all the tests done, and today it's kind of a fashion to say that you know XYZ doctor who's famous for this, and that. But moment we talk about mental health, there is a stigma attached. Nobody wants to say, I went to a psychiatrist. Nobody wants to admit openly that he or she went for counseling. I think there is a major change that has to come in our society. Just like how there is no problem at all in talking about physical health, mental health is just the same. All of us are human beings. All of us feel anxiety, we feel stress, we get depressed at times. There's nothing wrong. It's just a part of human nature to undergo emotions. Good emotions, bad emotions, doesn't matter. We're all human. So we should not have the stigma. And as a society also, we should not kind of attach some stigma to people who have approached mental health professionals for help. In fact, it's very appreciable if somebody takes the initiative and goes and approaches a psychiatrist or a counselor or a therapist. It's a very noble thing they have done for themselves and their families. So I want to highlight through your channel that people should not hesitate to approach professionals for mental health. Similarly, there should not be any stigma. There is nothing to feel ashamed of. And very good thing that's happening in the last 10 years is a lot of celebrities that you have seen, actors, actresses across the world who are doing their bit in removing the stigma from the system. There are a lot of celebrities who have come out in the open and said, yes, there was a time in their life they had depression, they had anxiety, they had some addictions, and they have approached psychiatrists, they have gone for counseling. That is something we should all take note of.
So do you think only the awareness can remove this challenge, or anything can be done to remove this challenge?
Well, see,
Because I just,
awareness is the main thing. So to spread the awareness, like what you're doing right now is you're kind of taking the message across to a lot of people. And today, a lot of advertisements come for counseling, and people are gently becoming more and more aware. And especially in big corporates, they already have their own counselors on board. So especially in IT companies or big multinational companies, and maybe even big Indian companies, they already have recruited psychologists and counselors, and they are available for counseling right inside the campus of the company. So that's a fantastic thing. And in fact, over a period of time, I think that will become a basic right also. Just like how you have right for good health, you have very much the same right for mental health. So the government should also do its bit. Of course, they have done a lot, but they should do a little more in kind of removing this stigma from the society and creating that kind of awareness in the public that so many professionals are available and you must feel free and approach. But one more important thing, just like in physical health, here also prevention always is better than cure.
I agree.
Right? So in Tamil we say Varumun Kapo. So if you want to prevent something from happening, let's say in your own family, we all have a responsibility to closely observe our near and dear ones and see if there is any change in behavior. And if we notice a change, we should take action immediately. And even before that, we should also try and ask ourselves, why is that happening? Is the situation in the house not okay? Is the environment here not conducive for good mental health? Are we having a lot of arguments at home? Are we leading peaceful lives? Are we bringing a lot of stress from office and coming and showing it on the children or on the wife? Or is the wife coming back from work and showing it on the husband and the children? So these are things we have to ask ourselves. So once we start questioning ourselves and becoming more and more self-aware of our own state of mind and our own state of health, I think prevention starts there.
Right, and this topic is becoming very interesting, Rajesh. I think we have to like to know more about some common mental disorders and treatments as well. We will come back to you again for this. We'll have another conversation on this. And thank you again for raising our awareness on mental health.
And see, feel free to come back to me. I'm available anytime anybody wants more information on this. Probably next time we meet, we could talk a little more about stress management, which is the need of the hour. Not just because of COVID-19, but every other day in our lives, we all go through stress. So I think probably we could discuss on that if you want.
Sure, Rajesh. Thank you very much for making yourself available for this conversation and providing a great insight into mental health. Thanks again, Rajesh.
Thank you so much.